Hey everyone, my name is Gerard Khalil. In 2012, I started my YouTube channel, That One Video Gamer, and for the last 13 years of my life, I have been completing games and making a lot of videos about the things that I absolutely love. On November 13th, 2023, two content creators named Karl, Jobst, and Mutahar made videos detailing on how my family's charity, the Open Hand Foundation, had not made a contribution since its founding, despite numerous fundraisers and misleading statements by myself about charitable partners. Within a matter of days, and before I really had any opportunity to present any information of my own, the narrative had shifted. I was being accused of embezzlement and charity fraud, with Karl and Mutahar directing their viewers to report my family's charity to the authorities, prompting a criminal investigation by the Department of Justice. We were informed that the investigation officially wrapped up in the fall of 2024. All that remained was a meeting with the Department of Justice to clear up any lingering questions, such as why the Open Hand had been mass flagged in the first place. I was constantly told by the Department of Justice that this is the final meeting, and the final meeting was right around the corner. But officially now, over a year has passed since then. I didn't want to speak publicly about this whole investigation until I had those final results in my hand, hence my silence all this time. The honest truth is that the Department of Justice will not respond to any emails, despite telling Open Hand's lawyers that they're interested in one final meeting to close the case. It has been over a year waiting on this matter, and the fact of the matter is, I need to move on. Whenever I get this final documentation, whatever it says, I don't care what it is, I will share the results with whatever I am legally allowed to share as soon as I can. And I am still absolutely confident that the accusations of fraud and embezzlement will be proven false. However, even if we never broke the law, serious moral mistakes were still made by myself and the foundation. The Open Hand took far too long to donate. We never explained why it took so long until after everyone called us out. And I lied about this for all of IndieLand's years, both knowingly in 2023 and unknowingly in all the years before. But it doesn't matter what kind of explanation either I or anyone else involved might provide. This happened, and rightfully so, it pissed off everyone. To my viewers and donors, friends and collaborators, I am so sorry for hiding the truth. It was selfish, full stop. I want you all to have the context as to how everything happened, but nothing I've said so far is an excuse, and neither is anything else in this video. All of this is on me. Even if it wasn't exactly how I imagined things would go, my goal always was to make sure this money got donated to the right place as quickly as possible, and I'm immensely thankful that it got done. So, with that in mind, I'm sure many of you still have a ton of questions, especially about why this happened in the first place and where I've been for the past year. I want to take some time to tell my side of the story and how we got here, but I also want to clear up many of the false accusations made against me, along with addressing the individuals who not only broke this story, but pushed it into the realm of conspiracy. So, yes, just in case all of you are wondering, this is in fact scripted. I am reading from a script. But I want to be clear, the words that you're hearing today are me and only me. There's nobody else trying to influence what I say here. I just want to be sure that everything I say is accurate to the receipts I'm providing, to my own experiences, and most importantly, that you are hearing the truth straight from me, not behind lawyers, other content creators, or voiceovers disembodied by random gameplay footage. So for now, let's go back to where all this began, with my mom. When I was young, I lost my mom to frontotemporal dementia, and she lived with that disease for roughly 16 years. When she passed away in 2013, my family officially launched a charity organization called the Open Hand Foundation, with the mission of raising awareness and money for dementia research, educational tools, and helping families. We saw a real need after the frustrations we had personally experienced working with UCSF and how they handled our contributions, both financially and with my mom's own body parts. Before my mom passed away, my family was assured of how incredibly helpful her donation would be and what a difference it would make to the research. Well, imagine our frustration when, after donating our mom's brain and spinal cord, along with several thousands of dollars, we were told that her body parts were pretty much useless by a staff of completely different people that we didn't even know anymore. It made my family feel like we had just given away my mom's body parts for nothing, with the contribution feeling more like a feel-good courtesy than a worthwhile sacrifice. This is where the Open Hand Foundation began, and with it, the need for knowing how charitable contributions actually get spent. And as for me, I didn't really get involved into any of this until I reached a place in my career where I really felt like I could use my platform to make a big difference. In 2018, my best friends and I created IndieLand, a 24 to 60 hour live stream event where we would play and promote indie games with the people who made them, raising money for charity with all of you at home watching, cheering us on as I went through tons of gross physical challenges at my own expense. IndieLand went on for 6 years, and my team and I were so thrilled to see our little show succeed. However, after we finished our 5th show in November of 2022, I spoke with my family about all the good we were doing, and I really wanted to get a representative from one of our charity partners to come and speak at IndieLand 2023. Only then did I learn that the Open Hand Foundation had never made a contribution since its founding, and there were no official partners. All the money was sitting there, untouched and accounted for, ready to be donated. But at the time, there was a massive disagreement between myself and my family. I personally thought it was important that the money be donated right away. Meanwhile, my family's perspective was very different than mine. They had been negotiating with several organizations to establish contracts to take a bulk sum of money as a restricted donation. These conversations revealed that many of these potential organizations were happy to take the money, but didn't want to track what they saw as a low sum compared to the 6 to 7 figure amounts they were used to receiving from mostly corporate interest groups. After a lot of tough conversations over the years, my family settled on a goal of raising $1 million before donating, hoping that this would be a massive milestone that would help organizations to take the foundation way more seriously. But I didn't know about any of this, and I didn't care. I wanted it to go to a reputable charity that would do great things with it right away. That means for the next 12 months, I knew about the money not being donated and was having constant conversations to get it to the right place, trying to repair relationships and negotiate in good faith with several different potential benefactors. Since it was now up to me to get this money donated, I needed to stay on the board of directors for Open Hand, at least until the donation was officially made. It was around this point that I realized that I was in way over my head. I had just lost my job at G4, and finances were a complete mess all around for myself and my company. I was scrambling to get the Completionist restructured with new ideas and a new tone, and I was practically traveling or doing some work event almost every single week, almost the entire year. But everything was up in the air, and all of it was on me, all at once. And on top of all this was the news that I now had to fix a problem that had been unknowingly brewing for several years. However, even at this point, I couldn't just do whatever I wanted. And this is where the real conflict started. I tried my best to express how upset I was, how upset all of you would rightfully be, and that this could cost me and so many people who worked with me everything we had created and built together, and I was simply brushed aside. I had learned the hard way that the charity world moves at a glacial pace, and I've been going around touting all these organizations and all the good we'll be doing for many years, only for all of it to be a bunch of empty promises. Even after I stepped up, my best efforts to donate as fast as possible would never be good enough, as every decision I wanted to make now had to be approved by a long list of people on both the Open Hand side and the potential benefactors that I have been speaking with. So I feel that some context on my family might be helpful right here. I'm the youngest of 5 in a first-generation Lebanese immigrant household. My dad has always loomed large in every aspect of my life, and that absolutely extended to my own experiences with the Open Hand Foundation, and at times, even my own business. The expectations were that I should have been an engineer, or I should have been a lawyer. Instead, I'm a video producer who plays video games on the internet for a living. If you ever watched the Completionist live show from a few years ago, then all of this should sound pretty familiar to you. I did not have the final call on any major decisions when it came to the Open Hand and its finances. I was one of many people in charge. To my family, I was seen as the video game guy, not the business guy or the charity guy. Regardless, The outcomes were absolutely my responsibility because all of you at home donated your hard-earned money and time and did so with your trust in me in mind. So when I learned the truth, I made it my goal that no matter what happened, the money had to get donated. There was no other outcome that I would allow. And that's where the real nasty core to all of this is. Nobody embezzled or touched any money, no crime was committed or covered up here, and the results of the Department of Justice's investigation will hopefully one day be proof of this. The decision to wait to donate until the foundation raised $1 million, along with the struggle of figuring out why that was necessary in the first place, should have absolutely been communicated with all of you. The Open Hand Foundation, and myself especially, should have been more transparent with its struggles and its goals, period. A week after IndieLand 2023 had wrapped up, and before I could get back to the donation efforts and conversations I was having, my heart stopped when I saw an email to the Open Hand Foundation came from a one Karl Jobst. I'm very familiar with Karl's work, as he had been known at the time to be a groundbreaking creator that claimed to take down cheaters, liars, and scammers. And I knew what was coming next. A few days later, on November 10th, I received a message from another creator, Mutahar, also known as Some Ordinary Gamers. I respected and trusted Mutahar, so when he asked if I wanted to hop on a Discord call to talk about a discrepancy with some of the Open Hand Foundation's publicly available documents, I agreed, thinking, hey, you know what? Maybe we could chat this out and clear the air, no problem. Mutahar never once asked about the laws or regulations that Karl had asked about, so I had no reason to think they were collaborating together, especially since they had no prior history together online. I hopped on the call, assuming that this would just be the two of us, until my surprise, I saw Karl join. The rest of what's publicly available to all of you is essentially me having a panic attack while trying to be transparent with two creators I respected at the time, all at the behest of throwing my friends and family under several buses. I saw the headlines coming, and I spiraled, losing control of everything. I did my best to reiterate my family's infighting, the struggles with finding a donor for a restricted donation, and that no matter what was going to happen, all the money was accounted for and ready to be donated. And they even acknowledged that there was no evidence of embezzlement and that it's not even what they were asking about. So it gave me some hope that this whole thing could be recovered in some way.
I'm keeping it to the charity and like the money and why it hasn't moved. I won't personally be mentioning anybody family related and the personal hell that you honestly have to go through. That's like a fucking no-no for me personally. On my end, and I'm sure on Karl's end, that's something that obviously I think we can abide by. That's just an ethics thing for any journalist, really. The very big silver lining is the money is there, according to every PP filing that I've seen. It can all be like done right, you know. This isn't a situation of actual embezzlement or, you know, money being moved to the fucking Cayman Islands or some cryptocurrency offshore. This is a situation that can be rectified for very positive sakes. But yeah.
I was terrified and I should have kept my mouth shut. But some part of me believed that if I was honest right from the get-go, maybe I could get out ahead of this and it could end up just being more of a cautionary situation for people to know. 3 days later, Monday, November the 13th, Mutahar and Karl released their videos and the story was broken. It made donating even more important, but even more difficult due to the new online reputation of the Open Hand Foundation and myself. Many of these organizations we'd been speaking with suddenly wanted nothing to do with us, legally informing us to keep our distance, and the situation quickly became desperate. Thankfully, my brother and I were able to secure a meeting with AFTD the very next day, and by November 29th of 2023, the Association of Frontotemporal Dementia received $600,000 from the Open Hand Foundation. Soon after this donation was made, I resigned from my role on the board of directors, ending my relationship with my family's efforts in the Open Hand Foundation. The money that remained in the Open Hands account was intended to cover any future operating expenses or potential legal fees. That would prove to be important since the very next day on November 30th, we received a notice from the California Department of Justice that the Open Hand Foundation was now being investigated. All receipts were being sent over, and per legal advice, everyone's mouths were to be kept shut. The main priority for me was at the very least the $459,129.90 raised by IndieLand donors would finally go to the original cause of dementia research in honor of my mother. At this point, my family and I were completely overwhelmed with the noise coming in. And as a result, we brought in several different professionals to help us determine how to even best respond to the ever-growing list of allegations. This is what finally led to my response on December 9th of 2023. All the information that I'm sharing with you right now and going to be sharing with you, this is what I wanted to say in that video. At the time, the Open Hands Foundation's legal counsel instructed me not to say or share anything because nobody knew what would be relevant to the pending investigation by the government. I was essentially handcuffed from telling the full story because our lawyers instructed me to not address any information potentially related to the ongoing investigation, which included receipts, potential evidence, and even fully admitting to any and all of my mistakes. When this response video failed to inspire folks to trust and believe in me still, I knew that my support systems were going to go away very quickly. My financial, legal, and community support disappeared overnight, with a lot of my friendships, both personal and professional, going away with it as well. It was clear that I had failed and my options were extremely limited. Over the course of the next 2 months, almost all the employees at That One Video Gamer were let go, and I spent most of my time clearing out the now defunct old office. I decided to continue making content as a way just to keep the lights on despite my legal silence. But by the summer of 2024, I eventually stopped producing new content altogether. I would go on to disappear from the lives of practically everyone I knew because I thought that in my own self-hating isolation that that's what everyone wanted from me. But in reality, I ended up doing a lot more harm than good by letting everyone else deal with the public responses, and that was extremely selfish of me. Without being able to truly apologize and take 100% full accountability for the things that I was responsible for, it felt like no one wanted to ever hear from me, let alone trust me ever again. To my moderators, my biggest fans that have rolled with me since day one, and especially to anyone who ever donated to IndieLand in any way, shape, or form. So many of you trusted me, my words, and my reputation in what I stood for. I know a lot of you have left this community, are hurt and feel betrayed, and were even threatened or harassed by people online just for saying that you still believed in me. I put all of you in an unbelievably difficult situation, and for that, I am deeply sorry. To my past employees, I am so sorry that you've had to endure the sudden hardship of needing to find new employment with a resume that had my name and company insignia on it. You trusted me to manage That One Video Gamer and everything related to our brand in a way that would keep us going for the next decade. All of you gave me your blood, sweat, and tears, and some of you for the full 13 years of our existence. I am forever grateful for all of you, and I am so sorry that this ended up becoming the worst possible scenario for all of us. To Fraser Perez-Edon, Patrick Stingline, and Michael Barity, you've always been my best friends. Your relentless support has always meant the world to me. IndieLand and so much of TOVG's ambition and drive was from the three of you and your dreams. You dreamed as big as I did, if not bigger, and contributed to our success. I will always be in your debt, and my heart is so heavy for how this ruined your lives and the lives of your fellow employees. I will find a way somehow, someday, to reconcile and seek redemption with all of you, if you will allow me to. I want to especially apologize to the Super Beard Brothers, the Scary Game Squad, the Friends Per Second podcast, and all of the guests and indie game developers that appeared at IndieLand for the long road of chaos they had to endure and will continue to endure because of all of this. I don't expect forgiveness from anyone who watches this, but I do want all of you to know that I am doing everything in my power to make it right. And on that note, I do want to talk a little bit about the progress update on AFTD's fight against dementia and how all the money you all donated is helping real people today. In July of 2024, AFTD sent Open Hand a report of what our contribution was going towards in compliance with the terms of the restricted donation previously negotiated upon. And I'll have that full report in the box down below, but I do want to touch on a few things that I'm very excited about. First off, when we negotiated our donation with AFTD, an outside party matched another $200,000 to our donation through one of AFTD's matching programs. So the total at the end of the day was actually $800,000 that went to dementia research, education, and care. This money was distributed through a wide variety of grants to several different researchers around the country, studying both chemical and social questions surrounding dementia, FTD, and all related disorders. Alongside this, one specific grant was awarded to the Respite Care Financial Assistance Program. Now, this helps to alleviate the financial burden of those diagnosed with FTD via direct cash grants for victims and their families. At the end of June of 2024, AFTD distributed 753 grants as a part of this program. That means there's 753 individual families who receive direct assistance hiring professional caregivers, enrolling in care programs, and purchasing supplies like shoes, clothes, and technology, and so much more. Now, this is a very detailed report with a ton of scientific terminology, but if you ever donated to IndieLand over the years, then this report is for you. It's your money helping these families through both new research and relief funding, and it is making an actual genuine difference to so many people. For whatever it's still worth, I want to genuinely thank each and every one of you who donated over the years. Thank you so much for your compassion and generosity, sincerely. On top of all of this, the Open Hand Foundation has committed to donate to AFTD for many years to come, as long as they have money to operate with $50,000 already having been contributed this year alone. Given that this amount was so much smaller than the last donation, they asked to not have any big press releases around this time. Even though I'm not a part of the Open Hand anymore, it makes me so happy to know that the foundation is continuing to donate and hopefully start to rebuild some of the trust. Donors, in the end, if you donated to IndieLand, your money went to charity and only charity. That was the promise, that was the goal, and we got there. I want to reiterate that at the end of the day, I was not trying to use or abuse my power as an influencer, and the intent was always to raise money for charity and never to take any of it. The memory and legacy of my mother is one of the most important things to me, and truly to this day, despite her passing, I do not think that I have gotten over the hardships and the trauma that I've experienced in my life with her and her illness. She always taught me to do good. And I was trying to live through her to do good, and I'm still trying to do good to this day. You, as a viewer, deserve the facts, and especially the truth. That's why I want to clarify as many of the allegations against me as I can that are absolutely false. First, I want to address the idea that the Open Hand could quickly just donate the money the same way you can just click donate on a charity website or Venmo or PayPal a friend.
Almost everyone is screaming at them just to donate the money, which should be pretty easy to do.
One thing you'll see is they'll ask me to gift an amount that is as low as $35.
The short answer is no. If we wrote a check to a charity with no agreements on how that money gets spent or how it's tracked, we would never have received a report detailing how our donors' money was being put to use. It would likely have gone to funding administrative costs like accounting fees and executive salaries. It had to be restricted to make sure that it actually went to dementia research, and negotiating with many of these organizations is really tough when you aren't donating tens of millions of dollars. To us, $600,000 was an astronomical amount of money, especially for me and my community. But in the charity world, that's small potatoes. There's a ton more to this whole thing, but that's about the best explanation that I can personally provide because I am not a 501c3 lawyer or accountant. This stuff is unbelievably complex, and it takes time to get it right. Simply put, it was functionally impossible for us to just donate the money in a website's donate button section while being responsible to the people who donated to us and the cause that we represented. That obviously does not excuse the fact that it took far too long to donate, but hopefully this at least explains why, even once you find a benefactor, it's still a very tedious process. Next, I want to talk about Twitch bits and Twitch subscriptions. If you don't know how bits and subs work, viewers can donate money in the form of Twitch bits, as well as subscribe to a Twitch streamer for perks like emotes and private streams. This money then gets split with Twitch, and the remaining balance then comes to the Twitch streamer at the end of the month. During the weeks of IndieLand, all bits and subs that we received on the channel were put towards the donation goal throughout the event. I'm sure many of you have seen a lot of clips and memes at this point over the years where I have said we don't touch any bits or subs. Technically speaking, I do have to interact with them because I have to claim the income that comes to me and my company, and any money that Twitch pays out is income regardless of where we'll end up going later on. However, either myself or my brother, sometimes referencing a meme name during the stream, referencing something that was taking place at the time in the stream, would donate various amounts of money that matched what we had received from Twitch viewers in real time up to that point directly to our Tiltify page. That way, the on-screen totals would match and no amount would ever get forgotten. If there was any discrepancy at the time, we made sure to donate extra to ensure accuracy, and sometimes that happened a few days after IndieLand had wrapped up. We worked hard to figure this process out as early on we didn't have everything locked in, but by the time we were done, that was our process. No matter what though, dollar for dollar, everything did go to charity. For full transparency, on screen right now, you can see our revenue for Twitch bits and subs for every year of IndieLand, and the document containing this data will be available for you down below. $459,129.90 was contributed to the open hand by the fundraising efforts of That One Video Gamer, The Completionist, and IndieLand. All of the money raised for IndieLand went directly towards that sum, and absolutely none of it was used for either expenses or personal use. This can be corroborated by both our Twitch earnings and our unclaimed expenses year on year. The process of receiving and tracking Twitch bits and subs was a tedious extra layer to IndieLand's operations, which is why we encourage viewers eventually over the years to donate directly to the Tiltify campaign instead. That way, donor money was going directly to the open hand, and I don't need to be the middleman at all in this situation. While we're talking expenses, let's address the claim that I used IndieLand as a way to earn money from claimed expenses and gain clout from running a prestigious event with big-name celebrities and respected creators.
Of everyone in the entire world who benefits from IndieLand, it's Gerard who benefits the most. He gets the Twitch followers, he gets the media attention, he gets to mingle with game developers and celebrities, he gets all the credit.
As it grew, IndieLand became increasingly more expensive to produce, most of all in 2022, when we made it an attendable live show like we had promised our viewers in 2019. That One Video Gamer shouldered all expenses. That was my contribution to the cause. The general rule of thumb is that a nonprofit charity should only spend around 25% of its income on expenses, and according to the BBB Wise Giving Alliance, 35% is the max amount to be considered a credible charity. The Open Hands operating costs, on average, were only 11.85% during the years that IndieLand was being run. We achieved this because IndieLand had no claimed expenses to maximize donor contributions, and more importantly, it was a passion project for our team. This was our idea. This was our vision. This was our dream. In the now leaked Discord interview conducted by Karl and Mutahar, I had previously mentioned that some expenses were recouped by my company via Twitch revenue or reimbursements from the foundation. It actually turns out that I was wrong. No expenses were ever claimed by my company, either through Open Hand or through the Twitch revenue. Between travel expenses for guests, venue costs for 2022, food and drinks, and all sorts of other extras, That One Video Gamer spent approximately $88,000 running IndieLand across all 6 years. This also doesn't include the tax burden that One Video Gamer took on by processing Twitch bits and subscriptions, plus the man hours dedicated to preparing for and running these events. That's hundreds of hours from 5 full-time employees being paid to put this event on together year after year. In short, we spent tens of thousands of dollars of my company's own money to run a charity that we did not get paid for, not for clout, but because we cared. Many employees volunteered additional time to make IndieLand happen, and I did not make this mandatory for their duties. We were all building this thing together. This event belonged to the staff who put it together, and they did it because they wanted to. They cared immensely about both indie games and victims of dementia. I am insanely proud of my team, and we only succeeded as much as we did because of their unbelievable dedication. I was the face, yes, and I did have final say, but this was our baby, not just mine. I am so proud of the showrunners, producers, editors, and coordinators who actually achieved these goals that they set for themselves. As a final note, I want to add that many online have noticed that the Open Hand Foundation has entered into a delinquency status with the IRS. Karl Jobst has run with this, saying that this is further proof that Open Hand did not comply with the law. In reality, the Open Hand's legal counsel was instructed by the Department of Justice to withhold their tax filings until the investigation was concluded. This delinquency status is the charity equivalent of an unpaid parking ticket and gets cleared whenever Open Hand files a specific form, which they've already taken care of. As a result, this delinquency status has been corrected and is actually explicit proof that my family and I fully complied with the investigation and truly have nothing to hide. Now, I wish I could end the video right here and move on and not acknowledge my detractors beyond easily debunked numbers and misunderstood compliance laws. Unfortunately, Karl and Mutahar have made themselves impossible to ignore. They have inserted themselves into my story whether I like it or not. Both of them have perpetuated and publicized numerous conspiracy theories about myself and my family online, and this has led to irreparable harm to not just myself, but everyone associated with my family, including personal information being leaked, stalking, public harassment, and so much more. It doesn't matter that these guys never explicitly said they believe some of this stuff, nor do they verbally condone bad faith attacks. They discussed and entertained several conspiracies that directly hurt people who had nothing to do with any of this at all. One of the conspiracy claims was that my family donated personal funds to cover up the fact that we secretly stole all of the donor money. Both Mutahar and Karl discussed this as not only a legitimate possibility, but as a likely reality, despite the fact that no hard evidence of embezzlement has ever existed.
One of the actual conspiracies for this is, one user writes, they just needed a few weeks to secure a loan or liquidate assets to come up with the money to do this. If this conspiracy theory is true and the California DOJ or the IRS are investigating, that's going to draw some serious eyeballs over to them. So if that money is there, just prove it exists. I get it. You're behind lawyers and PR agencies.
If this was actually true, the DOJ would have caught it instantly and acted accordingly. 501c3 charities in California are extremely strict and are under much tighter supervision than most other states in the US. An even more outrageous conspiracy tries to allege that my dad poisoned my mom in order to not just worsen her condition, but maybe even cause her diagnosis in the first place. These were particularly nasty conspiracies that I wanted to address in my initial response video from December of 2023, where I shared my mom's autopsy report to prove that yes, she did live and die with frontotemporal dementia. Some people were a little confused about this and were extremely upset that I used my mom's death certificate in that way that I did. But seeing all these accusations that were swirling around me, even the truth of my mom's disorder was now officially being questioned. Now, there's one more thing that I want to get ahead of here. Just a couple of years before my mom passed away, my dad started dating his now current wife while still being married to my mom. When you're committed to caring for someone with dementia for over a decade, life gets extremely complicated. My mom was at least 10 years into getting sick, and she was barely communicative at this point. My dad somehow found love at his senior age with an amazing woman who would go on to help our family take care of my mom well into her final days. I should not have to explain what I feel is no one's business but my family's. Unfortunately, there's Discord receipts of Karl stating that this was the last bit of family stuff that he was holding back, presumably until I decided to respond again, repeatedly referring to my stepmom as a mistress in my dad's supposed affair. Considering he used this exact tactic against Billy Mitchell, accusing his current wife of being nothing but a mistress in Billy's alleged affair, I have no doubt in my mind that Karl would and might still try and use this against me in the future.
The very next week, he applied to marry his mistress of many years. So that's why Billy lies about his marriage, because the truth is that he had his children out of wedlock to a mistress, and that just doesn't sound quite as wholesome.
Myself and my family have long accepted and love who my dad married after my mom passed away. It doesn't matter how much Karl tries to twist the truth here. There is no grand conspiracy here. The truth is that despite what they claim, Mutahar and Karl are not journalists, accountants, lawyers, or even engineers. They're YouTubers, just like me. That's why they never issued any corrections to this story, despite numerous allegations being thoroughly disproven even before my own response video came out. Corrections and questions are entertained as possible, but at no point did either of these two admit that they were wrong about anything they incorrectly cited. The 5% rule for charities to donate every single year, open hands filing status, expenses and contribution totals, or even my own words. These were all things that I tried to address in my response video, and others online had corrected them as well. There were a number of laws, requirements, and so much more that both Karl and Mutahar cited incorrectly, with no corrections to this very day. Let's take a step back real quick. Mutahar's first video released on November 13th. His next upload responding to online criticisms was on November 20th. His third video was on December the 2nd. And a fourth video was then released on December 7th, this time to talk about our donation to AFTD. Each and every video, Mutahar told his viewers that the open hand needed to be reported for an audit if you, the viewer, wanted anything to change.
Looking at their golf tournament, looking at a bunch of other places, there is, at least in my opinion, income or revenue that should be reassessed by an auditing body.
That is until December 9th when I released my response video. In my video, I said that we welcomed an audit, responding to the claim that we were somehow afraid that an investigation might happen, exposing the books and everything up to everyone.
What they don't want is people, especially the authorities, looking into the golf tournament and all of that sponsorship money.
But if you have the money, I don't think it's illogical to show that you have the money and you are willing to donate it. Unless, of course, even if possessing the money after all of this, there are still some serious legal repercussions.
Instead of admitting that, hey, maybe he might have gone too far, Mutahar doubled down, saying that a criminal investigation by the government suddenly doesn't disprove his accusations that we broke the law.
Now, the audit was never the smoking gun during this video, and you might be like, whoa, what are you talking about, Muta?
This is the exact investigation that Mutahar instructed his viewers would deliver justice if they followed his instructions.
Do you want justice to be delivered? So I'm going to teach you guys how to report this properly. Now, obviously, if you want any agency to look into this, check the state of California.
As for Karl, he actually acknowledges that he doesn't correctly cite any of the laws that I supposedly broke.
I couldn't give two shits if any of that is illegal or illegal. It would not affect my own moral judgments because I don't base my morals on whether or not a court convicts someone of a crime.
However, instead of admitting that he got anything wrong in his videos, Karl conveniently says that he is not a journalist, he's just making entertainment.
The purpose of a YouTube video is first and foremost to entertain, because if a video isn't easy to understand or entertaining, people won't watch it and I will get less money.
Accusations of criminal wrongdoing and inexcusable moral character are now a form of entertainment and should not be taken as fact, despite the fact that Karl cites himself constantly as an investigative journalist, both in his GoFundMe campaigns, on the record in the courtroom in several different cases, and even in one of his most recent videos.
My channel and my investigative work improved dramatically after I got sued.
Despite the best efforts that I put in my initial response video, I was never going to win, no matter what I said. The money got donated, but that was never the true goal. For Karl and Mutahar to succeed, I had to be irredeemable, and nothing I could have legally provided at the time would have been enough.
Which I will once again prove in this video that you cannot take Gerard at his word. He is proven to be somebody that is deceptive.
It was my 16-minute video under the scrutiny of countless legal professionals versus their 8+ hours of sponsored conspiracy-based attacks. So, as a recap, yes, I did lie about where the donations were going, knowingly so after IndieLand 2022. I tried to take responsibility privately by making sure that the money got donated appropriately, hoping that I could minimize the damage this might do to everyone in my life, keeping this a secret to prevent anyone else from being complicit. In reality, continuing to hide this throughout 2023 only made everything worse, because now I was still directly complicit. There was always going to be hell to pay, and I was just being stupid about all of this. I should have just partnered with the organization directly, made things right from the beginning, and not cared about restricted donations or where the money was going. I also should not have gone ahead with IndieLand in 2023. The show had taken a life of its own because it finally was receiving the notoriety for all of our team's hard work, and I did not want to hurt or betray everyone that put their blood, sweat, and tears into the show. This was just as important to indie games as it was to charity, and that added a ton of expectations and pressure. In the end, I made a choice that cost my team their employment and ruined their lives, not to mention all the residual flack of every indie developer that they received just because of their association to me. It was short-sighted and dishonest. I should have come clean as soon as I learned about it and separated myself and the event from my family immediately. With all that being said, though, what I did not do was steal, embezzle, or otherwise misappropriate donor funds for anything. Every cent of money donated was always there, waiting to find a benefactor. Any claims of theft, embezzlement, or fraud are categorically false. I also want to apologize to Karl and Mutahar. Despite my criticisms, I know what it's like to have your entire life scrutinized by tens of thousands of strangers who just want to see you fail, and nobody deserves that. I know you both wanted this money donated, and you didn't deserve to get blown off just because people liked me. But I'm not interested in fighting some eternal YouTube drama conflict. I just want to come clean, and this is genuinely the soonest I was able to do so. So if you're really interested in understanding whether Karl and Mutahar conducted a responsible and educated investigation, there's a great YouTube video out there by a YouTube channel called Accounting in YouTube that breaks down the entire thing. And it's made by actual CPAs who looked at everything that Karl and Mutahar looked at. If this is where my work in charity ends, then so be it. I have participated in dozens of public fundraising events over the years that have nothing to do with the Open Hand Foundation or my family for that matter. And the reason has always been the same each and every single time. Real people need as much help as they can get when faced with life-changing disorders like dementia. I've experienced this whole thing firsthand from the age of 10. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to endure, and I never wanted to defraud anyone in all of this. I just wanted to raise money for charity and help promote indie games. I wanted to elevate the industry as much as I could because it's always elevated me. So, where do we go from here? Even if I somehow recover from this controversy, things can never be the same as they once were. Does that mean the Completionist, the show, my channel, my livelihood? Is it all just dead? No. Hell no. I still complete games. I actually never stopped completing games. Even through the entirety of last year, I completed well over a dozen games just because I wanted to. At the end of the day, I still love making videos. I'm not a drama YouTuber or anything like that. I play games and just want to make videos about the things that I'm passionate about. My life is fundamentally different these days. My friend group has completely shifted. My family dynamics are very, very different. And the image that you all had of me is shattered. And maybe that's all okay. Maybe it's not okay. Maybe it doesn't need to be okay. But this is a new beginning for me, the Completionist, and hopefully all of you at home who've supported me, should you choose to continue to roll with me. From now on, this is my story to tell. And if you're here for it, I cannot wait to make entirely new kinds of videos that will make you laugh and hopefully make you think. Going forward, you're going to be seeing a lot of me more streaming on Twitch, and hopefully weekly videos will return again soon. But it's going to feel very different. I don't have my company or my team anymore. It's just me once again, by myself. Before I end this video, I want to talk to a few people specifically. To Alex Faciani and Kelly Whistler. You two have been in my corner for years, supporting me through the insanity that's been TOVG. I am honored and humbled to know the both of you, and I am so deeply sorry for all the pain that I've caused the two of you, even to this day. To my family, but more specifically to my brother Jacques. No matter what happens in life, we will always be family. We will always be brothers. We will, whether we like it or not, be there for each other through thick and thin. I know this has been hard on both of us and our relationship, And this whole video won't fix that, but hopefully it's a step in the right direction, and I hope that things go back to the way they once were someday. This is a new me, a new adventure, a new chapter. I learned a lot of hard lessons these last few years. This new road ahead of me will undoubtedly be filled with new highs, new lows, different pains, different sorrows, new battles, and hopefully not new or more enemies, but more importantly, more mistakes. I am only human, and I want to try and do right by each and every one of you who has ever supported me. I hope I can earn your trust and make you all proud of me once more. So with that said, till next time, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all again soon for another brand new episode of The Completionist.